Ooh, yeah.
Welcome back, Jammers and Jamettes, to another episode of the Cam Sports Jam. As always, alongside me, my co-host, Steven Berkheimer. Brad Cameron here. Steven, how we doing tonight?
Awesome as always. And yourself?
That's great. I'm excited to hear that for you. I'm doing fantastic. I hope you guys out there are hungry because we have a lot of knowledge to feed you tonight here on the Cam Sports Jam. We're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk hockey. We're going to talk college football. We're going to talk college basketball, which has just started up. But
Finally.
Yeah, finally. We've all been excited after last season's kind of disappointment with the University of Maryland Terrapins men's team. But before we dive too deep, let's give a shout-out to our sponsor, Good Samaritans Medical Transport. For all your medical transport needs, just call Good Samaritans Medical Transport. Good Samaritan Medical Transport, service that exceeds expectations. So, without further ado, let's get local. Let's talk about most recent news for the Washington Nationals. Scherzer, Cy Young winner.
Yep. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Definitely deserved it. Had an outstanding year for us. Played very well when we needed him. I think it was a runaway for him in the NL. So congrats to him.
The voters agreed fully with you, so you're absolutely correct. Congratulations, Scherzer, to your Cy Young, sir. Won an AL Cy Young and now has an NL Cy Young as well. So if you're wondering if his game transfers, it does. He can handle both the AL and the NL, obviously perfectly fine. Let's move on to the Caps, who are active, season going on as we speak. Current record now 10-4 after their throttling of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Can't smile enough about the 7-1 victory they had over the Pens Wednesday night. Awesome. Loved it. This Caps team, maybe this is the spark they needed to really start getting into form and saying, hey, look, we're here to play this year. But we all know it comes down to the playoffs for the Caps. So before we get our hopes up too much, it's lovely to see something like this against the Penguins. Probably our biggest foe. You got Ovechkin, Crosby. You got history between the Caps and the Pens. This was nice to see, though.
It was great to see. I think it's not so much that it matters in the playoffs. I think this one's going to linger in Pittsburgh's minds as the season prolongs and when we get to the playoffs. I think this one's going to hurt for them and it's gonna ride on them mentally. So I'm more than ecstatic about it. It's only one win and it's early, but the mental game I think is going to be tough for Pittsburgh.
Well, I agree with you, and I think possibly this could be something to come because you look at we opened the season against Pittsburgh. And it went to a shootout at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was able to win the opener. But then they came here. Then they came to D.C., and we beat them 7-1. So we took them, the defending Stanley Cup champions. We took them to a shootout, their first game coming off of their Stanley Cup at home, for them in Pittsburgh. We took them to the shootout. And then they came here to D.C., we beat them 7-1. I think we do have a little bit of an edge. I think you're right. This could be this could be a mental strategic tool that we can use to really instill some fear in the Penguins because they've kind of done the opposite to us. They are kind of our kryptonite to an extent. We are our own kryptonite also.
Yeah.
But if there is any actual kryptonite or a team that we want to beat more, it's not. No one but Pittsburgh. So,
100%.
7-1 victory, fantastic. We love it. So let's move on to college basketball. So far, men's and women's Maryland teams, both 2-0 to start the season. Can't ask for much more. University of Maryland women's looking very strong to start their season.
Outstanding.
University of men's a little bit gimpy coming out of the box. Was able to escape. I think that's a comfortable word to say. Escape a win against American.
Yeah, I don't really know how I would word that game. It was it's the first game of the season. Everybody has nerves. We have a lot of new faces, but at the same time, it's kind of a disappointment. You expect guys to be ready for someone. No offense to American, but it's something that these players should be ready for. It's not a team that you're gonna face and have to fight with throughout the season. This is not a top 100 team. This isn't a team that you're gonna have to face in your conference. This isn't a team that you're gonna have to face that has quality players that are equivalent to the depth of your team. So I wasn't satisfied by any means with the win, but I guess I can somewhat give them a pass. It was lackadaisical, but it is game one. I'll give him a C, I guess.
I was very, very disappointed. I don't want to dive into too much depth about that game, about American, because the season rolls on, and we had we have young talent coming in. We lost 4 players, like we alluded to our last episode. We talked about what Maryland lost. They lost several players, especially key minute playing guys, and now we have a bunch of freshmen who have never seen college action getting significant minutes. Now, granted, these kids are very talented, and so we kind of put a little bit of pressure on them, but I guess we have to be more respectful to their situation, which is coming into a school, top 25 program. We were ranked top 25 to start the season. Some pressure riding on them, and they had no experience going into it, didn't know what necessarily to expect, came out sloppy, 19 turnovers against American. Again, this is not a time to knock on American, but with all due respect, University of Maryland is better than American. No offense, my American Jammers. But terrible, 19 turnovers. It was sloppy. We just looked absolutely terrible, and luckily we were talented enough to beat a team that simply just wasn't as talented as we were. American played a good game. They did what they had to do to stay in it and fight with a more talented Maryland team. We ended up out-talenting them. I wouldn't say we outplayed them. We ended up out-talenting them. But let's talk about the game against Georgetown. Tuesday night against Georgetown. At Georgetown, kind of a little bit of a rivalry because they're so close. Last year it had a special feeling to it as well. Kind of a March-type feeling to that game. And this year was no exception. A March-type feeling to the game again. You could feel the energy. You could feel the significance of the matchup, and it didn't disappoint. Both teams played very well. It was a relatively good basketball game in terms of how the team shot, in terms of everything. And Georgetown simply kind of had a couple costly turnovers there at the end against Maryland's press. Maryland was able to capitalize, hit some free throws down the stretch, made plays. It was exactly what Maryland needed to complete a comeback when they were down 7 with about a minute left. Got some turnovers from Georgetown, was able to convert some stuff at the free throw line, and was able to squeak out a win on the road against a team that come March, that might look like a pretty decent win. Very happy to get that W instead of taking that L against the Georgetown team that's only going to get better. Happy to squeak away with a win there, 2-0. But so far, start the season, like you said, maybe a C, maybe a C plus. But I really liked the growth that I saw from our young guys in just one game. I was very happy to see some growth, and I liked some stuff that Turgeon did. I really thought Turgeon finally stepped up, drew up a couple plays to get some inbound action, and did a good job with the press. Our defensive press did a good job as well. Happy to see that it started clicking. You saw some signs that it was starting to click a little bit, and for it being so early in the season, if our growth and our maturation is going to come this quickly, I'll be smiling a lot more on the show, and I'll be much more happy to talk about Maryland basketball. But let's move on to a little bit more of a cloudy subject, Maryland football. Ouch.
Cloudy, thunderstorm, tornadoes, earthquakes. What is this?
Maryland football struggling at the moment. 2 very, very tough games, though, to their defense. against Michigan 2 weeks ago, last week against Ohio State, but we weren't competitive whatsoever. We were a little bit injured, a little bit nicked up. It's not an excuse, but we got throttled. We got stomped, absolutely destroyed. I don't know what else to say. This week, now they have another ranked matchup. I mean, it goes from ranked matchup to ranked matchup to ranked matchup for University of Maryland here. Now they're at number 9 Nebraska. Current record 5-5.
Yeah, 19 Nebraska. They are one of the most overrated teams in my opinion.
I mean, 19 though.
Yeah, but they were at, if I'm not mistaken, not 8 or 9.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now I think they're down to something more respectable, what they should be at.
I disagree with you. I think that they're overrated. They've had an easy schedule so far, for the most part. But to Maryland, you can't even score a touchdown's worth of points in 2 weeks. I don't care who you're playing. This is embarrassing. I don't know how to put into words, what's going on. But how do you only score 3 points in a week, in 2 weeks? It doesn't matter who you're playing. I don't have words for this. If you want to have a solid football team and you want recruits to come here, you can't get blown out by 56 points. You can't get blown out 60 points, 50 points, whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, you have to score more than 3 points a game, and you have to play defense against whoever it is. I don't care if they're 1, 2, 3, 4 in the land. You need to go out there and represent yourself. Have some pride for your team, your teammates, the program. You're playing for stuff bigger than you are. You got to perform. Don't. I don't want to say it's an embarrassment, but this is truly disheartening.
It was tough to watch. That's why I turned it off, because it was very, very tough to watch, and I knew going into it with some of our injuries, along with our defensive struggles, that neither of these would be that good. I was hopefully optimistic that possibly at home we might be able to put up a fight against Ohio State. We didn't. Got beat severely, just as bad as Michigan beat us.
Was that a close call?
It was not a close call. I was not right on that one. I wasn't even right on my original spread of 47-14. It was worse, 62-3. But either way, Nebraska's supposed to win by 14.5. I think I can comfortably say they're going to beat us by more than that at Nebraska. I just think this Maryland team is reeling right now, and I don't know where bottom is at the moment.
I'd have to agree with you. I would just have to, by default, take Nebraska covering the 14.5 and presumably so, obviously winning the game.
So let's move on, Stevie. We're 5-6. We just lost 3 straight games. Michigan, number 3 now in the nation. Ohio State, number 2 now in the nation. And then we just lost to number 19 Nebraska. 5-6, facing Rutgers to end the season and become bowl eligible. Do we get it done?
I don't know. I have to see us play this weekend to see if we can somehow get our head back on our shoulders. And if we get routed this weekend, I'm going to say no. We seem like we're lost. We're trying to find things in a room with no light. We're lost. So I have to see kind of how we figure it out this weekend, see if we can kind of rebuild ourselves. But as of right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers took that one.
I don't agree with you at all. I do think that we have been very out-talented the past couple games. But against Rutgers, I think Maryland settles down. I think Durkin finds a way to say, hey, fellas, look, I know we've been through. I know it's been tough. I know that, Our schedule has been tough, and it's no excuse. We should play better. We should perform better. Let's win this game and give ourselves one more game to show everyone what we're capable of. Let's win this game against Rutgers, and let's show everyone at our bowl game that we deserve a chance to play, to have a postseason. And I think the troops rally, because I think we're better than Rutgers. The only reason we would lose to Rutgers is if we were so disheartened. But I think Durkin can motivate us to be like, look, I know we've been through, fellas. I know it's been tough. The past 3 weeks have been tough. These were tough opponents, and I wish we would have competed better. We didn't. Let's focus on the task at hand. I think he's going to say we have a great chance to beat this Rutgers team and get our seniors a chance to play another game. Let's get them one more game. Our quarterback, Perry Hills, let's get him one more game. Let's fight. Let's do whatever we can to get him one more game. I think we beat Rutgers. I think we finished the season 6-6, even though my original projection, I think, was 8-4, which was aggressive. But I think I said 7-5 was more likely. 6-6, I think you had alluded to 6-6.
Your locker room chatter right there from Durkin's more than what I think he throws out there. This guy's defensive mind. We brought him to be a defensive mind. We have some good defensive recruits, and we're giving up 60 points a game the past 2 weeks. So I don't think this guy has control of the locker room. I think everybody's kind of off on their own. So I have no confidence in us the rest of the season, and I don't know what he can say. If he hasn't said anything the past 2 weeks to where it's not, you don't give up 70 points. I honestly have no idea. I don't know why it is what it is giving up. I know these guys are more talented. They get better recruits, but it's not Pee Wee football versus high school football. We have talented men. We have guys going out there who have played football before. We shouldn't be going out there losing by 60 points.
No, I agree with you on that. So you're saying 5-7. You think we lose coming in?
I have to see how we play this weekend, and we'll retrack next week.
There you go, next week. Exactly. We'll wait and see next week. I hope that's not the case, just because I'm cheering on our boys. I hope our boys can get it done at Nebraska, and I hope they get it done at Rutgers. But most likely, the season is going to fall on Rutgers, and I hope we can win. But we will readdress their current scenario next week after whatever takes place this week at Nebraska. So let's move on to the Skins. Our other local football team that we cheer so hardly for. Current record, 5-3-1. Host a foe that knocked us out of the postseason last year. For those of you that don't remember, that would be the Green Bay Packers. Skins play the Green Bay Packers this Sunday, 8:30, Sunday Night Football, in the bright lights for the Skins. And this has a similar feel to what it did last year. I really don't like it. Last year, we had momentum going into that playoff game. They were kind of whatever. We don't know what to expect from the Packers. They're whatever. Don't know what to think. People were confident in the Skins' ability, and we got out-coached. We got outplayed. It was out-everythinged. We got out-everythinged by a team that simply was just more ready to take on a playoff-type environment and handle the pressures of a playoff-type environment. Not that we're getting that close to the playoffs. We are. Currently, the Skins are sitting in the 6th seed in the wild card. But it is, games are getting more and more important. There's no doubt about it. And so you look at a Green Bay team where people, again, what do we expect from them? Eventually they have to start playing better, but then they keep struggling, and no one knows what to expect. And then you got a Skins team that, on paper is pretty good, and for the most part we've played well. We squandered some fourth quarter, opportunities that we could have won. Could be sitting at, 7-1-1, 6-2-1, or 6-3, 7-2. Depending on how well we finish in the fourth quarter. Either way, that's all in the past. But you got a Skins team that has, the sky is the limit almost for the most part when you look at them and kind of kind of sometimes the way they play, you're motivating. You're like, oh, okay, this is how we expected to look, and this, and sometimes we look really good, and then sometimes we have quarters where we struggle and can't do anything. So, host Green Bay last year, 35-18, they beat us in DC in the playoffs. What do you got for me this year, Steve?
You know, this is a toss-up to me. I think, no kidding, pun intended. This team, we tied Cincinnati. You know, whether it be overseas, whatnot, we tied Cincinnati, a team that's been on the downslope. They just lost recently to the Giants. And then we beat Minnesota, which is a team who has no offense, and they have no idea how to play from behind. They have a solid defense. If they get the lead, pumps them up defensively, and they've done pretty well at the beginning of the season in holding those leads. So I don't think our record is representative of how good we are.
I agree. I think we've underachieved.
I'm not so sure about that at all. I think we should be taking care of teams that we're not taking care of. The Bengals and the Vikings. We did take care of the Vikings, but it wasn't in a fashion that I was happy with, because they had a chance very late in the game to go ahead, score a touchdown, and seal it, which we've seen too many times. But in that, the Packers are on the same road, and the only reason that they beat us last year, in my opinion, which would relate to what our weakness is this year, is that they can run the ball. This year they can't run the ball. So with that, our pass defense is very, very solid. Norman, obviously, with the quality addition against Nelson. So I'm going to go with the Skins in this one, not comfortably, but I'd have to go with the Skins. Give it to me by 1 point, 28-27.
Woo! Another heart attack game for the Skins. I think you're probably right, though. I do see another heart attack game coming, and I do see kind of a shootout. I think both teams are going to be a little sluggish to start, but I think the second half is really going to liven up. I think both teams are gonna loosen up and start putting up some points. I got us winning 31-27.
Okay.
I just think that the offensive line for the Packers is so bad, and their inability to run the football is so bad. Even though they just signed recently, very recently, free agent Christine Michael, I don't know if he'll be ready to go. You know, especially in their system, I doubt it. So it's going to be Starks, who I believe had a decent game against us in the postseason last year. But still, they have so many offensive line problems that this is a very different Packers team right now than it was last year. And I think we have enough offense to really keep tearing that defense up that has been getting absolutely shredded the last 3 or maybe even 4 weeks. They've really given up 30-plus points, and the Skins are no slouch when it comes to putting up points this year. So, yeah.
May I add, if they start Starks, which they have, I'll take us to win. But if they start Ty Montgomery in the backfield, I will take the Packers. Which I don't know why they strayed away from. He was very, very good. I mean, he was great for a fill-in, and he's very agile. He knows how to make people miss. Yards per carry is great. Knows, if he gets tackled, he gets tackled. Not many yards after contact, but making contact with this guy is pretty tough. So if for whatever reason, this is my belief in thinking that they should start him. If they start Montgomery, I have to unfortunately go with the Packers.
Okay. We'll see how many reps he gets. They're not projecting him to get a lot of action necessarily now that Cobb, Adams, and Jordy have been doing well, and they want some kind of ability to actually just hand the ball off and run it, because Montgomery I don't think is ready to handle 11 carries to 15 carries a game. But I think that's what they're looking for, is a running back where they can literally say, hey, look, we need to keep this defense honest. I need you to run between the tackles. Here you go, run between the tackles. But him being more of a wide receiver type body, a third down type back slash wide receiver type body. I don't think they're comfortable giving him that kind of workload. So I think you can comfortably say it's not going to come down to that, which
I don't know.
errs on our favor.
Give Starks 7 and Montgomery 12. That's almost 20 carries. Yeah, I would be happy with that. Coming out of the backfield if I was a Packers fan or coach. But I don't know what he's doing up there, McCarthy. I'm obviously on an NFL coach, but I see what I see, and they succeeded with him back there, and we would have much trouble stopping that kind of high-powered offense rather than being honest. And Starks is solid. We struggle against the run. I'm okay with Starks running at us rather than Montgomery. That's just my opinion.
I think when they have Montgomery in, it's more of a no huddle, speed type offense, and that does scare me as a Skins fan, because we simply sometimes look lost defensively, especially when they want to run hurry up and run the ball against us. Our rush defense has not been very good at all, and so I hear you on that. I do, but I really hope we win Sunday Night Football. Tune in, Skins fans. Cheer us on. Hopefully we can get the W, move to 6-3-1. We'll have to wait and see. But we got more to talk about. We got college football coming up, some more NFL stuff coming up, fantasy football especially. So don't go anywhere. You're watching The Jam. Welcome back, Jammer fans. Big shout out again to another one of our sponsors, the Silver Spring Social Sports. Silver Spring Social Sports is a 21 and up sports social league. If you want to get involved, you can go to silverspringsocialsports.com and sign up. They have games, sports such as kickball, dodgeball, volleyball, soccer, and football. If any of these sound interesting, feel free to sign up on silverspringsocialsports.com. Come out and play. All right, let's move on, Stevie. Our next topic, highly debated. College football never seems to end. The playoff, BCS, national champion, all this stuff. Always, there seems to be an asterisk. People want something next to the way they do this thing because the computer system and however these teams are voted in, it always seems to be something of which people are not happy with. So let's look at the latest college football playoff update after the number 2 team Clemson lost, number 3 team Michigan lost, and number 4 team Washington lost last week. Whoa, stir the pot. Okay. Whoa. All right, so here we go. The current playoff looks like this. Alabama as the top seed, understandably. Ohio State jumping to the number 2 seed after a solid win against Maryland. Michigan remains the 3 seed. And then Clemson falls to the 4 seed in the college football playoff. And then just outside, Louisville with the 5th, Washington with the 6th, Wisconsin with the 7th. A lot of people aren't happy with this. Do you think this looks right, what they've done here, Stevie, or do you see something different?
As of now, I'm okay with it. I see why people would have issues with it, especially with Louisville's only loss being to Clemson at Clemson. But at the same time, Clemson would argue, "Hey, we beat you. Why would we put you guys ahead of us?" So, I'm somewhat surprised with Washington still being at 6. That was a letdown for them at home against USC. Granted, they're 7-0 with their new quarterback. They were a rough start with the quarterback that they originally started, but at the same time, that was an extreme letdown for the Huskies. I think they're out of the race here. It's going to be extremely tough. It's going to take a lot of work for them to get in. But
if 2, 3, and 4 lose again, who knows?
Yeah, it depends. Who they play. There are some tough matchups within the Big Ten, and all we heard was this hoopla about SEC, blah blah blah. It's a Big Ten showing up this year, so finally somebody takes note. SEC has one person in the top 10.
Let's see. Big Ten has Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Penn State all in the top 10. 4 teams in the top 10.
And SEC has one. I mean, granted, I think they're in a category of their own, that they are running people out of the gym. But at the same time,
Alabama, not the SEC, right?
Right.
Yes,
Correct.
okay.
Correct. Alabama. But in that, there are some games in the Big Ten that will have some repercussions, and Wisconsin's going to have a last game to make a statement for themselves. Their losses are, if there's such thing as quality loss, these are more than quality losses.
2 and 3.
Yeah. So
Michigan and Ohio State.
I don't know what else you could ask for. I know their losses, but at the same time, if you're going to make arguments for that, for Louisville losing to Clemson, if Louisville should be in, why not count Wisconsin in if they're losing to 2 and 3? So there's a lot of games to be played, a lot of time to have the standings play themselves out, but. Sure. Currently, I don't have an issue with where they stand. How about you?
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of people were kind of shocked to see 2 teams. This season. Let me restart that. This season there has been so much fluctuation, and like if you lose, you have faced the wrath of everything, and it didn't matter who you lost to. If you lost, it's like. You're going down no matter what, because like that's just what we're doing. And if you win big, we're sending you way up there, and like you're the best and you're riding high. And so I think fans so far have gotten used to the massive fluctuations that have gone on in the rankings so far this year. And so I think when all of this excitement took place, everyone was like, who knows what this is going to look like? Maryland's going to be ranked in the top 10 for all we know. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit strange. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of people were expecting extreme ramifications for these losses and didn't see them. And when they didn't see them, they're like, well, wait a second. So-and-so lost a game earlier this year, and they fell out of the top 25, and they were ranked 8th, and Michigan loses to unranked Iowa, and they remain the same. But I feel like so many people are focusing on these losses. Don't worry about the losses. The losses are one thing. It's about the resume that you still bring to the table that makes you eligible to be in the college football playoff. It's not oh, we're playing who has the worst loss. It's who has the best resume. So these losses that took place for these teams, some of them weren't that detrimental because they had already built such a good resume that they could afford a loss. Mainly Michigan. People are talking about this loss at Iowa being a pretty bad loss. And I agree, that was a pretty bad loss. But let me give you their resume. They beat number 10 Colorado 45-28. They also beat number 8 Penn State 49-10. And they beat number 7 Wisconsin 14-7. So they have 3 top 10 wins, and they lost to Iowa. Are you telling me they shouldn't be in the playoff? They have 3 top 10 wins. So for the people who are questioning what the committee is saying about where these teams should be at, I mean, Michigan has every case to say, hey, look, we have 3 top 10 wins. How can you keep us out? Like, who's better than us? Like, who else has beat 3 top 10 teams this year? Name them. Because I can't. I don't think Alabama has either. Look at Louisville. Just on the outskirts of the top 4, just outside the playoff. Have never been there. That's uncharted territory for Louisville. Last year, they had 2 years ago, tremendous season with Bridgewater at the helm. And the farthest they went was the Orange Bowl. Didn't get the bid. They had 1 loss. Didn't get the bid to get into the national championship. So this would be very uncharted territory, them getting this far. But look at their most quality win was against Florida State. Florida State now ranks 17th. Louisville won 63-20, which was a very, very impressive win at the time because Florida State was ranked a little bit higher, so it looked very good. But Florida State currently is ranked 17th, but that's still a solid win against the 17th ranked team. But they are 0-1 against top 10 opponents. Michigan, 3-0 against top 10 opponents. So why would Louisville possibly be ahead of Michigan that's 3-0 against top 10 teams? Louisville's sitting there at 0-1 against top 10 teams. How possibly can Louisville say, oh, we should be ahead of them? Like, no way. We've beat these teams, and you haven't. I know Louisville's looked impressive because they have a Heisman candidate, and I think a lot of people are riding high on Lamar Jackson being the Heisman. They think they automatically should be in the national championship because they have the Heisman, and that really isn't the case because Clemson is still ahead of them at the 4 spot. And moving on to Clemson, this is their resume against, formidable opponents. These are important wins and losses here. Clemson beat Auburn, who's ranked 15th to start the season, open up the season against Auburn, 19-13. They also beat Louisville, who's trying to make a case that they should be in. Clemson, who is in, beat you already, Louisville fans, 42-36 in a tremendously exciting game. Loved it. But they did beat number 5 Louisville. So there's 2 top 25 wins, 1 top 10 win. And they beat Florida State, who's number 17, which we alluded to. Louisville also beat 37-34. They and just recently sneaking into some rankings is Troy, who not people know a lot about, but Troy having a awesome season, 9-1, 8-1. I think it's 8-1 right now. Just creeped into the coaches poll top 25, number 25. But Clemson beat them also 30-24. It's a resume builder. It's, you got to look at quality wins, and they need to be just as important as bad losses. And Clemson's loss, hurts them a little bit, but they have some resume builders. And Pitt isn't even that bad of a team. Stevie, you said you do agree, and these resumes, it makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I will say, with the Louisville-Florida State game, Louisville, the score isn't even reflective. I know 63-20.
Yeah,
that was bad.
It was bad. They killed them.
They let off the throttle in that game. But other than that, I see the case for Louisville, but at the same time, how are you going to take away if somebody beats you? How are you going to put the loser of that game ahead of the people, or the team that won the game? That's granted. If they played a neutral field, I'd probably take Louisville. But at the same time, if this is how the standings work, and this is how the philosophy is for, if anybody even understands it, the committee.
Yeah.
I understand where they're going if they put Louisville in there. I'd have more of an issue with it than if they kept Clemson up there. So that's the reason that I'm okay with that.
Okay, I hear you. I think to settle the nerves of everyone who's wondering what happened, if that wasn't enough to make sense for you, I don't know what will, and you're just gonna have to stay tuned and watch because it is gonna get more exciting. And I think the Big Ten, like Stevie said, is going to dictate a lot of this, and not the SEC, which typically does dictate a lot of this stuff. This year it seems to be the Big Ten. Like we said, 4 teams are in the top 10 right now in the Big Ten, and there's some big games still yet to come, mainly Michigan, Ohio State, which everyone is going to be hyping as going to be a tremendous football game, and it's going to have big implications for a lot of teams. There are a lot of football teams who aren't even tied to that, are in different conferences, who are going to be watching that game exclusively, waiting to find out the outcome, no doubt about it. Just a little update real quick with our original projections. Stevie having Bama, Clemson, Florida State, and now Washington. Stevie might be down to just
rough.
2.
No
Myself having Bama, Clemson, LSU, which hurt a little bit, but I still got Michigan. Michigan is still alive, and so right now I barely have the edge over Stevie, but it's unpredictable. It is very, very hard to figure some of this out.
It's tough for you with the quarterback being finished. So I kind of want to give you the win by default because I think if he was still around, if Space was still around, they would be not necessarily the win, but the respect is there in the sense that you were presuming that the people who were carrying that team would lead them to the playoffs. And in my belief, I'm not saying that they won't get there, but in the event that they don't, I believe that they should be there.
Well, I will take that respect, but I will also say, how do you know I wasn't counting on other teams to get hurt? And I was putting Michigan in there because I thought other teams might get nicked out.
Fair enough.
But I'll take the credit. I'll take the respect. I don't get it very often. I'm rarely right, so I will take the credit when I can get it. So thank you very much. Let's jump to our next break. We come back. We got a lot of NFL stuff to talk about in terms of some team quarterback controversies and then some fantasy stuff. So don't go anywhere, Jammers. You're watching The Jam. Welcome back, Jammers and Jamettes. Big shout out again. Can't thank you enough, Junk Masters, another one of our sponsors. For all your junk removal needs, just call Junk Masters. Junk Masters, our business is picking up. Let's move on to some NFL talk. Talk college football. Lots of excitement going on. There's a lot of excitement going on in the NFL right now. First off, let's talk about the league's best team. It's wild to say, but the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, hasn't happened in a long time. For the league's best team, currently, the Dallas Cowboys. They have a little bit of a controversy at quarterback. Would you agree? To an extent.
To an extent, yes.
There is a topic of conversation.
We've discussed this multiple times.
We have.
On air and off air, and
Yes.
the controversy has sorted itself out.
It has.
So, I ended up on the, I guess, right side of this argument.
Well, wait. Okay. That's a different argument than what I want to talk about tonight.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I think Romo can still come in and be tremendously productive, but I am at the point now where I think Dak has deserved it. At first, I didn't think he was impressive enough to really warrant it. Their current combined opponent's record is 29-49. It's not like they've played a tough schedule.
That's where I was having the issue with. You presented them as the league's best team, and
I'm just saying, based on record, they are. I can't deny the fact that based on record, they are.
Fair enough.
Well, we can all make our own different power rankings in terms
Right.
of their pay. You know, I don't want to say this and offend other teams. They're playing scrub squads, but they definitely have played a very weak schedule with respect
Agreed.
compared to a lot of other teams.
Agreed.
And it's made for a good equation to get this team, young team, confidence and to get them going. But what I want to talk about is Romo and his most recent interview that he had, saying that he doesn't want to be a distraction to the magic that is going on right now in Dallas, talking about what's going on with Dak and that whole team. I mean, really, and what's going on in that whole team. It's not like one person is lifting them to something that is, you know, that's incredible. They are all playing extremely well. Their defense is playing extremely well, deserves a lot of credit. Their skill position guys playing very well, deserve a lot of credit. Quarterback play has been very good, deserves a lot of credit. Running back, very good, deserves a lot of credit. Offensive line, extremely good.
Yeah.
Deserves a tremendous amount of credit for really being able to maintain football games, maintain that line of scrimmage, dictate that line, and really, really dominate almost everyone that they've played so far in the NFL. But let's move on to Romo's situation. Romo has, in a sense, conceded in his interview. He virtually conceded and was like, hey, look, this is Dak's team now. And it's almost hard for me to say that because, I mean, I can only imagine how hard it was for him to say that. Took a tremendous amount of courage for this man to say, hey, look, he's outdone me now. You know, for someone who has put so much in for that city and only virtually got mediocrity out of it, 8-8 record. That just took a tremendous amount of courage for him to virtually give the team to Dak in a sense, and Dak had the respect to say, "Look, it's not my team. We're a team, and it's everyone's team, and we're just playing, and we're all playing as hard as we can, which is fantastic." But Romo's situation is not to be ignored. He is going to be the backup in Dallas now. Dak has proven that he can win games, takes care of the football, doesn't put his team in any position to lose football games. We still have yet to find out if he can really muster a comeback necessarily, go down 14 or go down 17 and muster up any kind of comeback. But for what their schedule has demanded, he has answered, and that's about all you can ask for. They don't ask you, hey, who did you play? You get bonus points for that. It's what's your record? We need to know what your record is. We'll put you in the playoff.
College football.
Exactly.
This
It's not
is
college
NFL.
football. There's no committee saying, oh, well, the teams you played sucked, so you're not in. Excuse my language. But, yes, it's not that. It is straightforward. Have you won these games? Okay, you deserve to be in. And right now, Dak is winning these games despite what anyone is saying, despite whatever record that their opponents are, despite anything. They are the league's best team in terms of win and loss at this moment. So what is Romo's best option right now? To stay as a backup? Let's talk about next year. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Let's talk about next year. I think he should opt out of his contract and leave. I think he should go somewhere else just because I think the situation is what it is, and I think it's Dak's quarterback starting position now in Dallas, and I think Romo should go somewhere else. Do you agree with me or not?
Before we jump into next year, I do want to add that I wouldn't put it past Jerry Jones and his commitment to Tony Romo in everything that Tony's done for him, to where if Dak has a bad game in the last 2 or 3 weeks, where he goes with Romo. And it's not a knock on Dak. I think it's it's not even false hope. It's solid hope. Tony Romo is a good quarterback, and if you want to walk into the playoffs with Tony Romo versus Dak, I'm not going to blame you if you walk into it with Tony Romo. So, in that sense, if Dak has a bad game or 2 games, or he gets down by, as you alluded to, 2 to 3 scores, and he just fumbles over the reads, and defenses are attacking him, and he's just getting, yards here and there, lots of punts, not scoring, and you can't run the ball when you're down. So if Dak struggles when they're down, and or he has 2 or 3 turnovers in a game, I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry Jones turns to Tony Romo.
Honestly, I would be. I think Dak has done enough where he's given himself a little bit of a grace period to have a sloppy endeavor. You look at Tom Brady's last game against Seattle, he had no touchdowns. They're not. Okay. But I'm just saying. Look at their record. I get it. Tom Brady is the king, and he isn't going to lose his spot at all. I understand that. But all I'm saying is, for someone who has been playing very well, has been leading their team in similar fashion, not exactly the same, but has been leading their team and hasn't been a detriment to the team. I think you're allotted one
if Dak throws or turns the ball over 3 times in week 16 or 17,
well,
who would you roll into the playoffs with?
Well, 17 is the playoffs. I mean, it's only a 16-game regular season.
Yeah, with the bye.
So in the bye week he throws picks?
Oh, regardless, when you make the playoffs, there's 17 weeks.
Yes,
okay. There's 17 weeks.
Oh, okay. I get it. Yes, okay.
Okay, there's 17 weeks.
Yes, you get a bye.
They've
There's
already
16
had their
games.
bye. They're not getting a bye in week 17.
Sure.
Okay, so with that, who are you starting if Dak turns the ball over 2, 3, maybe 4 times in week 16 or 17.
Well, I can tell you who they play.
Who? Okay.
Because it depends on who you're going against. Like if he struggles against a crappy team that they know they could have maybe run the football against and completely avoided this, that's different. But if he struggles against like Seattle, I know they don't play Seattle because the rest of their schedule is very easy, just like the early part of their schedule has been. But let's say they played against Seattle and it looked like this guy is not ready to see them at all. I think you do warm up Tony Romo.
All right, let me...
Because he's a veteran, and he's experienced, and he's not bad. He just is hurt.
Okay, so let me ask you, who are you more comfortable in winning a playoff game?
Tony Romo. There's no doubt about it. Dak has not won any. How can I possibly say Dak over Romo? He hasn't won any. I know Romo hasn't won any either, but I am more comfortable with Romo's ability to lead this football team than Dak. And I think people have very short memories, and all they want to think about is what's happening right now, and that's great. But the playoffs is a different beast than the regular season, people. We've seen the Giants win the Super Bowl against a 16-0 Patriots team when the Giants were 9-7. So the regular season is not a representation. It is not a representation of the postseason at all. So for you Dallas fans who are so happy and think you have a very good chance of winning the Super Bowl at an 8-1 record right now, you really need to settle down. You really do, because the playoffs is very, very different than the regular season. Not that this is not discrediting Dak at all, but I think I hear what you're saying. But let's get back to what I was saying.
That was just a question.
Okay.
That was just a question. I didn't mean for it to go on as long as our discussion.
No, because you're right. Because that controversy could come up. They play Baltimore this week, and Baltimore is the #1 ranked defense. This is going to be Dak's first extremely real test to find out what he is made of against a defense, against T-Sizzle. T-Sizzle is going to be coming at him. Against T-Sizzle, that is going to say, hey, look, you better have your reads right, because if you hesitate 1 second, I'm going to be in your chin. I'm going to be in your chin, and I'm going to be saying, hi, welcome to the NFL. So,
but back to your question.
Back to my question. Let's say, hypothetically, he doesn't struggle. He keeps going. He keeps doing work. They keep running the ball efficiently. He has 2 touchdowns, 250 passing yards per game.
Whatever it be.
Whatever it may be. Just takes care of business to get his team into the postseason. Possibly #1 seed. Possibly not, depending on what Seattle does and what Dallas does. I think Romo should opt out and go somewhere instead of staying as the backup, because I think he still has a lot to offer in the NFL when healthy.
I'm not disagreeing with you. He's a competitor. He obviously said he's not done. He doesn't think he's done. He said if he needs to fight more than he ever has. So more power to him. I like the comeback kid more than essentially the underdog. So if I can say I'm rooting for Tony Romo, it's go Redskins. But in that sense, he should go somewhere else. There are small amounts of teams where I think he would go, and as we previously discussed, I picked the Jets. I think he would be comfortable in New York. They would build a team defensively around him. They're struggling with Revis Island. I guess that's underwater this year. But in that, they have Forte. They have Brandon Marshall, Decker, the new receiver this year. It's maybe not the best spot for him, but it's a spot that he wouldn't turn down given the opportunity, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm gonna give everyone options. For those of you that really aren't sure, I compiled a list here of teams that are in need, really of a quarterback. You look at the NFC East, for the most part, everyone is comfortable at the quarterback position. Dallas having Prescott, Giants having Manning, Philly having Carson Wentz, the Skins currently having Cousins, but who knows? In a contract year, who knows what they're gonna do? Let's move on to the NFC West. Arizona has Palmer, Seattle has Wilson, LA now has Goff, officially announced him as the starter. San Fran, who knows? But does he want to
Who
go to
wants
San
go
Fran?
there, right?
Exactly. NFC North, Detroit has Stafford, who's proven himself this year. Green Bay has Rodgers, of course. Chicago has Cutler,
They're moving
but
on,
like who
but
wants to go
else?
Cutler?
Yeah.
And Minnesota has kind of a question mark. NFC South, Carolina has Newton. Tampa Bay has Winston that they drafted. New Orleans has Drew. What?
I don't know. I
Some-
heard it
something-
was a breeze or something.
Breeze? Yeah, it must have been some wind.
Yeah.
Drew Wind, if you ever heard of him. Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, New Orleans. Atlanta has Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, who's playing tremendously well.
By far the best quarterback division, in my opinion.
No, I agree fully with you. I mean, the NFC South is loaded at quarterback,
Yeah.
absolutely loaded. So look at the AFC East. New England has Tom Footlocker. Oh, it's Brady. Tom
Uggs.
Uggs Brady. Miami is sold on Tannehill, I feel like. I mean, they gave him a big contract. They're still sold on whether or not they should. They're still sold on Tannehill. Buffalo, I think, is comfortable with Tyrod Taylor. You know,
Yeah, more so. Yeah,
and the
for sure.
Jets, like you alluded to,
Yeah.
question mark. You got Fitzpatrick. You got
Geno Smith.
beat up Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And then you got whoever else.
You're signing Fitzpatrick for
Hackenberg,
12.
Petty, who knows?
Yeah.
So the Jets have an opening, and that team is loaded with some talent. Forte, Decker. Brandon Marshall. They are a talented team, no doubt about it. Then you look at the AFC North. Baltimore has Flacco. The Steelers have Ben Roethlisberger. Cincinnati has Dalton. Cleveland has, who cares? Oops. Okay, that was rude.
Yeah, Bob.
They have Bobbert Griffin in Cleveland.
Oh, gosh.
They have Rob Griffin. No, Cleveland definitely has a question mark, and that's an interesting fit with a young team.
With all due respect, Kessler has played
Yes,
very well for himself.
yes, he's managed that team well for a rookie that's thrown into the fire. There's no
moving
doubt
on.
about it.
Yeah, moving
So
on.
then we look at the AFC South. Tennessee has Mariota, who is maturing tremendously. Looks great. Looks like a great decision
Especially with Murray, absolutely.
for them. Yes, no doubt about it. The running and passing option they have there is
Yeah,
fantastic. Indianapolis has Andrew Luck. Jacksonville has Blake Bortles, who I think they're sold on. I know he's struggling this year, but sold him. And Houston just signed a massive contract to Osweiler. Whether or not they should start him, they have no one else to start, but they signed him to a massive contract.
I saw a poll the other day in Houston. It was, how comfortable are you comfortable with Osweiler as the future quarterback for the Texans? Overwhelming favorite was no. It was 99% to 1. Unbelievable. I can't even imagine being a Houston fan right now. That's terrible.
Unfortunately, they just paid him a ton of money, and so it's hard to.
I know. And 99% of people hate it.
All right, so let's move on to the
thought being a Skins fan was
AFC West. San Diego has Phillip Rivers. Oakland now has Derek Carr, who is proving himself this year.
Absolutely.
And Kansas City has Alex Smith, who is
all they need in Kansas City.
that's all they need. I mean, kind of like Dak Prescott type quarterback that
Yep.
just does.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up.
Be a
just,
game manager.
Just do. And they both just do. Extremely high IQs, but can make plays with their feet. Very, very similar quarterbacks, in my opinion. And then you have Denver, that won the Super Bowl, that is loaded in a lot of offensive positions once C.J. Anderson comes back. But probably the biggest question mark they have, and had last year, is quarterback. So the teams that I have that have quarterback needs, where Romo could opt out of his contract and go, the New York Jets, the Denver Broncos, the Minnesota Vikings, Cleveland, San Francisco, and then possibly our Washington Redskins, depending on how we feel about Kirk Cousins. I know that's like a cardinal sin. We're bringing in a cowboy, Alf Morris, to go to the other team. Cardinal sin to go to the other team. But, is it possible? And I want to start with the Jets. Like you said, Stevie, the Jets is a viable option, no doubt, for Romo. but I just wonder how much he wants to go there. It's a very big light, and he's gonna have to face Brady, and I just feel like it's not as much of a sure thing in New York. I see other options for him that I think are better.
I don't disagree with you in the sense of the division, but the big light's never been a problem for him outside of the playoffs.
Fair
He
enough.
played in Dallas,
Being Dallas quarterback,
America's favorite team. Blah blah blah. In that sense, yeah. But playing in a division with the Pats, and Buffalo can win any Sunday.
True.
Absolutely against anybody. So I'd agree with you on that one.
Can we officially rule out Cleveland and San Fran?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the man who right now is almost on it's a playoff bound team right now, possibly a championship team right now. So he's gonna have to leave. I'm sorry. He's gonna have to leave a almost championship team to join. I would think what would be an almost championship team. So I think we can rule off Cleveland and San Fran. I just don't think they are ready to represent themselves. They are not a complete team by any stretch of the margin. So it comes down to the Jets, who is a very talented team, but I think does have some question marks. Washington, who I think is finding comfort with Kirk Cousins. I think this season has been very good for Cousins. Not enough to get rid of him. I don't see Romo coming in and taking his spot.
I wouldn't be upset with it. He's proven nothing to me. We should be winning games by more than we have been. We should be taking care of teams, and we shouldn't be throwing picks in the end zone. Kirk Cousins' second half last year was seemingly unmatchable. But in that sense, Kirk he's playing easy quarterback football, and he's not impressing me right now.
Okay. So, you think he could possibly come to Washington?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Especially for how much we're paying Kirk.
What about
Absolutely.
Minnesota?
That would be a commitment for Minnesota, in my opinion, because you're going to have to commit to AP as well. So,
yes, you have two injured big-time players.
do you think they sign AP?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we've seen what he can do when he comes back from injury. So I think Minnesota is loyal, and I think they do sign him, and I think that'd be very interesting to see Romo with a young Diggs, young Laquan Treadwell, Rudolph, AP, stud defense.
Maybe make something of Patterson. No, but on that note, you've seen what AP can do coming back from injury. He's 50-50. Had one of the best seasons he ever had. Sat out the next season. So it's kind of not sat out the whole season, but at the same time, it's here nor there. And how much are they willing to commit to two players? You have to pay AP if he's coming back, and then you're going to have to pay Tony Romo if he gets there. So
All right, so yay or nay to Minnesota?
Yay or nay in the sense of, is he thinking about it? Would he go there?
No, yes, it's a good fit to win a championship, or no?
To win a championship.
I mean, their defense is really good.
No.
Okay, nay. Then we have Denver, who has Simeon at quarterback. I don't think they're sold on Simeon by any stretch of the imagination. Do you see Denver being a good fit? Because I do.
I absolutely do. I can't think of a better position outside of the Jets that minus their schedule fitting Tony Romo's fit and quarterback presence and his preference in passes and the run game. I think Denver is a great fit for him.
I think so too. You have a defense that is going to play hard every game, and you can afford to make a couple mistakes, which Romo has been known to do, but has really settled down the last couple seasons in his mistakes and has been a tremendous leader. But I think with Romo, this Denver team becomes quite lethal because now defensively, you're going to stop people, and offensively, you're scary. And offensively, you're going to keep the defense off the field and keep them rested and keep them hungry. It's a very, very good fit for Romo to go to Denver if it plays out the way it looks like it's going to play out this year. Give us your thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah,
Stevie?
yeah. I want to add that it's hard to establish a line between somebody's thought process, in my opinion, in the sense of where you want to go versus where your competitive nature takes you. So, would I be surprised if he? Not that Cleveland's great, but they have good prospects. It's a chance for him to prove himself again and say, "Hey, look, I'm doing this." Or Minnesota even. Hey, look, I'm still here. So it's not to me. It's not in the sense that he doesn't have it. I think his competitive nature will take him outside of the realms of where he sees himself being in a position to win a Super Bowl or even possibly even making the playoffs. But that's my opinion.
I just think he's been through enough NFL seasons where I don't think he has a lot more to prove. I think for most people, Tony Romo has elevated himself to a position where he is one of the best starting quarterbacks in the NFL now these days. He is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL these days. I don't think he has a lot more to prove. I think the only thing he has more to prove is that Lombardi trophy. I think for him, I think he's comfortable with where he's at and what he's done for that team and the presence that he brings to the football field. And I think everyone else knows that too. And I think for him, he wants to secure that thing. So I don't see him going to Cleveland. I don't see him going to San Fran to try and prove anything to anyone because I don't think that's Tony Romo.
San Fran's out of the question. I mean, I think they're off the books, but I politely disagree with you in the sense that he isn't willing to do that because you're giving him he's better than 2/3 of the quarterbacks in the NFL. You know, we're looking at these guys, you know, on a couple teams saying why are these guys even out there? So you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't have much to prove, but where he is and how good of a quarterback that he is, where we put him or where I put him personally, I mean, you give him top 10. I mean, say he's the top 10, you know, he's better than those guys. He's a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy, and if you give him weapons, the guy's very, very good. So I don't think he wants to sit on the bench.
Okay,
No.
so why wouldn't he pick Denver over Cleveland? What does he have to prove? You're saying he wants to go to Cleveland to prove something. What does he have to prove? Let's go to Denver and win a championship. I think he wants to win a championship.
I'm not saying that, but Denver has to be part of it too.
Sure.
If Denver's not about it,
I think Denver's very about it. If he opts out of his contract, I think Denver's very about it because I don't think they're committed to Simeon. Like I just said, I don't think they're committed at all.
We're talking hypotheticals right now.
Okay.
So
you're
if
saying
you have sources that are better than mine in the sense that they're looking at Tony Romo and they want to bring him in tomorrow, I don't know.
I just don't know what figure Simeon is putting up.
Why wait till next year, Denver, then? Why wait till next year? Why not bring him in now?
For all I know, they have, and they just haven't released it.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, well, Cleveland, why not wait till next year? Why not bring him in now?
Because Bob's coming back.
Yeah.
No, but
he's not going to Cleveland.
Okay.
It's not happening. That's absolutely not happening. I can rule that one out. It's not going to happen. And it's just because he's in a contract. Instead of going to Cleveland, I think he'll sit in Dallas where he can win a championship.
Cleveland is not bad.
I'm not hating on Cleveland. I'm just saying, is Cleveland going to win the championship next year with Tony Romo?
He doesn't. He's not. He's never going to win a championship unless he goes to Denver. But Denver has to be involved. So, all right. No, I'm scratching this, and there is a chance. You're crazy if you don't think that he has something to prove, and he's not going to go to Cleveland to prove himself.
He doesn't. He wants to win a championship.
Completely disagree. He's not. He wasn't even good. He wasn't even good when he played for Dallas. He's better than what Dallas is giving him respect for.
Okay. If he wanted to prove something, he would have argued in his interview, I need to be starting because I'm better than Dak.
Somebody shut him
and
up.
I need to prove something.
Why is Jason Garrett even the coach there anymore? Who knows? You were the one saying they're beating up on little kids, so
They are.
Okay.
And they are. But I still think Tony Romo is a very respectable man. I think he realizes the situation, and I think he's comfortable with where he's at in the NFL. You may not think that. You may think he has something to prove. You may think he has some vendetta where he wants to go to Cleveland and be like,
I would hope so.
hey, everyone that thinks
would hope
I was
so.
terrible. No one thinks he's terrible. Like who thinks he's terrible? No one does. Let's move on. Because that's not going to happen. Let's talk.
Man,
Let's talk fantasy. Let's do our fantasy fast five. Let's start with the QB position. What do
Yep.
you got for me? Let's focus on fantasy now.
all right.
Whoa.
Are we doing fast five?
Fantasy fast five.
All right.
QB position.
All right,
Give it
QB.
to me. Give it to me.
Who? Carr versus Houston or Bortles at Detroit?
Carr versus Houston.
Yeah.
I just think that Oakland is hot right now after that win against Denver, having the bye week. They're fresh. They're going to come out, and they're going to play well. Carr, for sure.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Russell Wilson versus Philly, who held Matty Ice in check, or Eli versus Chicago.
I'm going Russ here. They don't run the ball. They don't run the ball at all. With Procise and Rawls back, it's going to be play action or dump off real quick with the run game. It's going to be pass. I'll go with Russ easy on that one.
All right, what you got for me at the RB?
RB, first one, we got Kelly, our boy Kelly versus Green Bay, or Ryan Matthews, who had a great week last week, versus Seattle.
Oh man, it's that's a good one. I think Seattle possibly could have a hangover after their very exciting win against New England. Philly might be able to climb in there and catch them while they're sleeping, but it won't happen. I'm taking Rob Kelly. This Green Bay defense is slumming, and I think Rob Kelly is gaining in confidence. I got Rob Kelly.
All right.
And I'm going to give you Lamar Miller at Oakland or Theo Riddick coming off a bye week versus the Jags.
Versus Jags. The Jags are terrible. I have to go with the
Their defenses play well.
Yeah, but you run the ball when you're up.
Okay.
If you're not winning, you have to play the run. So I'll go with Riddick here.
Riddick. Very good. All right. Give me
All
your other RB.
RB, Jonathan Stewart versus the Saints or CJ Procise against the Eagles.
I'm going to take Procise. I think their last game against the Pats, they really start using Procise. They just kicked out Michael. I think now this is the Procise show. And I think they're going to give it to him. Like you said, I think a lot of screens and I think a lot of short yardage type passes. But I'm going to go with Procise. I think he's going to get the action, and I think it's going to be a shootout against New Orleans. And I don't think Stewart is going to get as much action because I think there's going to be a lot of passing going on in that matchup. So I'm going to go with Procise. Let me give you Doug Martin at Kansas City or Jennings against Chicago.
That's a tough one.
That is a
I have to go with Doug Martin. Even though he's coming back from injury, Chicago is more than solid against the run. So
Russell Hamster. Come on,
that's
Hamster.
tough. That's tough. It's first person to 75 yards wins. So I got to go with Doug Martin there. So
all right, give me a wide receiver.
all right, your boy Jameson Crowder against Green Bay or Terrell Pryor versus Pittsburgh.
Ooh. That's a oh man, that's a good one. But I'm gonna go with Pryor.
Pryor.
Yeah, I think Pryor's gonna get enough targets. I think the Skins are really gonna use some big playability in their tight ends. I think Reed and I think Davis have very big games. And I think for the most part our receivers are gonna stay relatively quiet. But I think Pryor's gonna have a very solid game against the Pittsburgh team that it's gonna be a shootout and they're gonna score points, and I see Pryor catching one.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna give you Britt versus Miami or Michael Crabtree versus Houston. Whoa, okay, I'm hungry.
I have to go with Crabtree just because I'm not giving Goff any credit until he shows me. Miami is going to eat him up, I think. and Brits played solidly, absolutely this year. Um, kind of a welcome back for him. This guy played pretty well in his early years. Kind of fell off the map a little bit due to their lack of quarterback play. But yeah, I have to go with Crabtree here. I know Texans are good against the pass, but I just don't think Goff's gonna have much room to play with. They're just gonna blitz him all day.
Okay, Crabtree it is.
All right. Kind of a superstar versus superstar here.
Oh.
Well, not kind of, but yes. Mike Evans at Kansas City or AJ Green at Buffalo.
AJ Green. I think Cincinnati is desperate for a win right now. I think they know the equation that works for getting them points is giving this man the targets. AJ Green is going to get the targets, going to get the action. I'll take him.
All right.
All right, let me give you Dez Bryant versus the number 1 defense in the NFL, Baltimore, or Stephon Diggs versus Arizona.
That's tough.
That's a toughie.
Man, I want to take under points for both of them.
Sit.
Yeah, no kidding. I have to go with Dez just because of I don't know. I'm hoping last week his touchdown is kind of R.I.P. his father. I believe it was. So he scored a touchdown last week, got the game ball. So I'm hoping they're kind of just gonna take care of him a little bit in the sense of the pass. I want to take a sit there, but just
one was gonna outscore the other.
Yep, I have to go with who would I rather start. I'll go with Dez.
Okay, Dez it is. So let's move on to our fantasy sit start. So let's talk about some matchups where, like, if you have this guy in your roster, we highly advise you sit them, and vice versa. If he's possibly on your bench or available in your league, that we highly advise that you start this guy. So let's start with a quarterback sit position, Stevie. Who should players, fantasy owners, avoid?
Avoid someone that you alluded to in our pick'em against Kansas City is Winston. If Winston doesn't have a good game, Evans doesn't have a good game. So, on that note, I'm sitting Jameis Winston.
All right, I think that's a good call. Kansas City has played some good defense, and they caused havoc against Cam last week. So, okay.
Arrowhead's a tough place to play.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And that team is 2 losses. They're in fine shape right now.
Absolutely.
I have Andy Dalton versus Buffalo. I think Buffalo is a tough defense, and I think they're going to play very well and keep that game into a low-scoring affair because I don't think they want to get into a shootout at all. And I think that Buffalo keeps Dalton in check and doesn't let him put up multiple touchdowns, doesn't let A.J. Green get too loose. A.J. Green's going to get his, but I see them keeping everything else in check. So I got Dalton, not having the best game against Buffalo. What about your QB start position, Steve? What do you got?
We're starting Kirk Cousins against the Pack. If Super Mario, Marcus Mariota, has a good day, he has been the hottest quarterback in the league. I mean, essentially kind of bar none, especially with Tom Brady putting up a goose egg last week. I'm going to go with Kirk having a good day. I'm hoping we show up. He should have 283 touchdowns. Nobody's going to complain about that from their fantasy quarterback. So I said 28-27. Kirk has 3. Kelly has 1. That gives us 28. So long as we don't miss an XP. So
why would you say that? Why would you say that now?
On that note, who do you have as the starter?
Do.
I love it.
I got Mariota, Super Mario versus Indy. Indy's defense is nicked up, and they're not playing that great. And I think that Tennessee is just riding a lot of momentum right now. Rashard Matthews playing well. Murray is running the ball well. Mariota is playing extremely well. This team is playing great football, and I think the the story continues. So,
Oh,
moving on to level 3, Super Mario playing well this week. Start him if you got him. What you got for me? Sit at the RB position.
I'm sitting Gurley versus Miami. I would, even if you picked him first, second, 1,000th, I don't know, wherever you picked him, sit him this week.
That's a deep league. 1,000.
Miami is going to load the box. They're going to rush Goff like he's never even seen a rush before, in my opinion. So I know it's at home. It could be a low-scoring affair, in the sense that Fisher has been very good at defense. He won 9-6 a couple weeks ago. But on that note, I think it's gonna be a rough day for the Rams.
Well, look at their game last week against the Jets, and now they have a rookie quarterback starting. No, I think
Sit all Rams.
I think that's I think that's a tremendously good prediction, no doubt about it. But my sit is going to be Lamar Miller versus Oakland. I just think Oakland is riding a lot of momentum right now, and I think they're going to put up some points where I think Houston's going to have to throw to try to keep up. They're going to have to use Will Fuller. They're going to have to use Hopkins to try and keep up with this Oakland team. So I have sit Lamar Miller. I just don't think he's going to get enough action because I think Oakland's going to take a lead on him. What do you got for me at the start, Stevie?
I'm starting Jonathan Stewart at New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy, the first matchup, 87 if I'm not mistaken, and 2 TDs.
Yeah.
So, hey, 20 points. Nobody's going to complain
pick
about
up where you
that.
left
So,
off, kid.
yeah, New Orleans terrible against the run. Bottom 5 if I'm not mistaken, excuse me. So, I'm going to go with Jonathan Stewart. How about you?
I'm going to go exactly the opposite side that I just said. Latavius against Houston. I just love what Houston's doing right now. I think they're just riding so much confidence, and I think Latavius, after being injured a little bit earlier this year, is healthy now. He tore Denver up, and I think this man's running with power, excitement, and I think they're going to give him the football. And I think against this Houston defense, he can make an impact. So if you have Latavius, don't hesitate, start him. What do you got for me at the sit, wide receiver?
I'm sitting Diggs. He's their best offensive weapon, obviously, but Peterson is top 2 in my opinion. Cornerback. So as long as this guy just shows up every week, Peterson does. Diggs is going to have a rough day. He had a good week last week. I think 10, 11 catches even. 140 yards.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but on that note, I think Arizona is more sound defensively. So I'm going to go ahead and sit Diggs. Minnesota's on a severe downtrend right now. So.
They are, yeah. If you have a Minnesota player, just I don't really like it.
Yeah, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with Edelman against San Francisco. I think even though Gronkowski most likely is going to be out. If I was the Patriots, I would sit Gronkowski because you don't need him against San Francisco. No offense, San Francisco, but you don't need him against San Francisco. And their rush defense has been so bad. I see them just literally just running the ball, maybe throwing like a little bit. So I just don't see a big aerial attack from the Patriots this week against San Fran. And so I'm sitting Edelman. What do you got for me at the start?
I'm starting Adams against the Skins.
Okay.
Not by choice, but I think Norman's going to shut down Jordy.
Yes.
He should track him along the field. So
Lockdown.
with that, their best offensive weapon outside of him, with Cobb banged up, is Adams. Adams 2 weeks ago, over a 3-week span, he had the most targets in the NFL.
No,
so
he's been tremendous the past couple weeks.
If they're going to throw him the ball, why not start him?
Yeah, I agree with you.
What do you got?
I'm gonna go with Hopkins at Oakland. I have a lot of Oakland action. I think this is gonna be a shootout, like I said, and I think in order for Houston, who is quietly 6-3, to compete in this game, they're gonna throw the ball, and they need to throw it towards their best target, Hopkins against Oakland. I know he's been struggling of late, but fantasy owners, rest assured, this could be an opportunity for him to get going and for Osweiler to kind of be like, hey, look, I earned a little bit of this money. I'm going to give it to our boy, our number one target. I'm going to give it to him. I think Hopkins is going to have a good week against Oakland because I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair.
I'm not a Hopkins is struggling because Crockpot's struggling. So it's hopefully this guy can find somebody. So I'm not hating on it. I'm with you. I root for him, but who's going to throw in the ball?
I hope it's going to be Osweiler. But we will wait and see. That's our fancy Fast Five, and that's our fancy Sit-'em Stardom. So if you guys have any other questions, Jammers, please let us know. Comment on our video. You can also comment on our Facebook page, Cam Sports Jam. Leave us a message on Twitter, Cam Sports Jam again. But I think
Yeah, thanks. Great show.
that about wraps it up.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for jamming with us. And as always, remind you, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Have a good day.
What time